Welcome to the Military Money Manual podcast. I'm your host, Spencer, the founder of militarymoneymanual.com. I started my website in 2012 to share everything I've learned about military travel hacking, investing, and financial independence. Together with my co-host, Jamie, we want to help military service members just like you and your family achieve financial independence as soon as possible. Jamie and I are both active duty Air Force officers with over 25 years of military personal finance experience. Thanks for tuning in to the Military Money Manual podcast.
All right, so this week we have some exciting news to share with you guys. The book, The Military Money Manual, is officially released now if you're hearing this live. So Spencer, congratulations, first of all. Tell us a little bit about the book and where they can find it and what it's about, things like that.
Yeah, thanks. So first of all, thank you to all the listeners, all the blog readers, all the email subscribers who already pre-ordered the book before it was officially released. I'm extremely grateful for your orders, for your support, and it's really reassuring to put something out into the world and have people actually respond to it and order it. For those of you listening right now, like Jamie said, the book is officially released. So if you order, my little elves in North Carolina will put the book in the mail and ship it out to you. And you can use promo code PODCAST. That's PODCAST. Can never remember how to spell podcast. But and you can get a limited time special discount on any of the products on the website. So we've got the Military Money Manual, Practical Guide to Financial Freedom. It's available on my website, militarymoneymanual.com/book is the easiest way to find it. And then once you're on there, you can go ahead and order the hardcover version, the ebook version, or the audiobook version. And,
or maybe all three of them.
Yeah, that's right. I've got an ultimate bundle package on there. And it's almost like you're getting one of the versions for free, basically, if you order the Ultimate Bundle Pack. So you'll get the hardcover book shipped out to you, free shipping too, if you order the Ultimate Bundle. So I wanted to make it a good deal, and don't forget to use your the promo code podcast when you order that. So yeah, super stoked about the book. It's been a long time coming, and I know that you were one of the early adopters, Jamie. So thanks for putting in your order.
Yeah, of course. So right now you mentioned the militarymoneymanual.com/book. Eventually it'll be available in other venues, other stores, right? Right now it's exclusively on the website. Where other places are they going to be able to find that in the future?
Yeah, so it's going to depend on basically how well it performs on the website, but eventually I think I'm going to have it listed on Amazon. Possibly Kindle, possibly Audible for the audiobook. But yeah, right now it's exclusive, like you said, at militarymoneymanual.com/book. And they're always going to be able to find it there. So if it's out of stock somewhere else, just head over to my website and I'll have it there in stock and ready to ship it to you. Or for the digital versions, I'll just shoot you an email and you can download it.
Awesome. That's really exciting. So you mentioned the title of it is The Military Money Manual, A Practical Guide to Financial Freedom. So talk to us a little bit about how this book came to be. Obviously, with that title, it's a lot about financial freedom and some practical steps. But when did you start writing this, and what made you sit down and write a book about Practical Guide to Financial Freedom for military people?
So when I joined the military in 2010, there really weren't that many books specifically targeted towards military service members and specifically about financial independence and retiring early, also known as the FIRE movement. So one of the books that had a big influence on me was Doug Nordman's The Military Guide to Financial Independence and Retirement, but that didn't come out till 2011. So the first couple of year or two, as when I was a young lieutenant, I didn't really have any books specifically for military service members covering financial independence. So I started my blog in 2012, and essentially I just wanted to share, a lot of the ideas I had about investing, about personal finance, about paying off debt. I wanted to share my personal journey to paying off over $100,000 of student loan debt. on my website. And that's kind of where the idea for the book came from. I had all these articles on my website. I had all these ideas, and I thought that there was an opportunity there to essentially write the book that I wanted to read when I was a lieutenant. So originally, I published a shorter book called The Intelligent Military Investor on Amazon. And that was in 2017. So I think I wrote the book in 2016, that version in 2016. And it's been listed on Amazon since 2017, and it's got pretty good reviews. So 4.5, 4.4 stars out of 5, I think. And so that kind of getting that positive feedback of, oh yeah, there's people out there who want to read this, and they took my ideas, and a lot of people liked them. That kind of drove me to writing the military money manual and actually hiring an editor and getting the book officially published, with an ISBN in a hardcover, and hiring somebody to read the audiobook. So super stoked about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. We like to joke about the 4.5 stars on your first take of the book on Amazon. We have a good friend we worked with who claims he didn't give it a 2-star review, but the name of the reviewer happens to match his name exactly. So maybe if it weren't for said friend, we would be a little higher than 4.4. But
Yeah.
no, that's good. That's very very cool.
You know who you are out there.
I hope you feel guilty. What was it like writing and publishing, actually going through a publishing process for this kind of second book? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I mean, I really consider this, it's my second book that I've published, but the first book was entirely self-published, so it was me writing in Microsoft Word and Google Docs, and then publishing through Kindle Direct Publishing, which is KDP. It's a service that Amazon offers and allows people just to publish ebooks with almost no no controls whatsoever. So basically anybody could go out there and publish, and become a published author. But for this book, I really want, if I was going to get it printed in hardcover and have it be something that people would have on their bookshelves that they could give as gifts, I really wanted it to be a premium, high quality product. And so I reached out to a editor who's worked on a couple other projects with some pretty famous people. One of them, Derek Sivers, was one of the people that she worked with, and her website is or her publishing company is called Otterpine, and her name's Saya. And if she's listening to this podcast, hey Saya, it's been awesome working with her. And what's really cool about what she's doing is she's allowing authors direct access to independent publishing, and they can kind of skip, the traditional publishing houses. So, I didn't really have to go through any gatekeepers, but now I have access to all the people who have been reading my website for all these years because I have the mailing list. And eventually I can list it on Amazon, and the Amazon algorithms should recommend the book to military service members who will be interested. So it was quite a process. We went through maybe a dozen, maybe 20 rounds of revisions, and
Wow.
at a certain point when you're reading the book, you're just reading it over and over again, and it's hard to even, comprehend what you're reading at a certain point. So one thing that we did was we brought in beta readers, and, that just allows fresh eyes essentially to look the book over. And that was really helpful. Got a lot of good feedback. Jamie, you were one of those. So thank you for that again. And you actually get a shout out in the book, in the front cover. So take a look at
Oh, I'm
that.
going to mount it on my All About Me wall, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there you
no, I
go.
really enjoyed being a beta reader. I thought it was really neat. And I don't know if you knew this about me, Spencer, but I almost had an English minor in college. And then at the last minute, I backed out because all I needed was 3 more credits my senior year, but I didn't need those credits to graduate. So it was like, get this document of an English minor that is basically worthless or not work as hard my senior year. So I did not get it, but a lot of those skills I have. So I really enjoyed not just reading your book, but also that involvement as well. And, bringing a couple ideas, but really just, being there to to support and read early. And I know when you have a team of a few beta readers, it only makes the product better. But okay, next question I have for you is who do you think the book will speak to the most, if that makes sense? Yeah, who will it speak to the most? Yeah,
It's definitely going to be, it's definitely a book written for military service members. I think also a relevant audience would be anybody married to a military service member, or girlfriend, boyfriend, some kind of significant other. But it's specifically for military service members, and that's the audience right there. So if you're a civilian, you can pick it up and you might get something out of it, but really, with all the acronyms, with the focus on the TSP and other unique investments to military service members, this book is specifically written for U.S. military service members. So in terms of what kind of audience even more niche than that would get a lot out of the book. I mean, if you're freshly enlisted, if you're right out of boot camp, if you're a new officer who just commissioned, or you're at one of the service academies, whether that's the Air Force Academy, Annapolis, West Point, if you're an ROTC, whether that's Army, Navy, Air Force, or doing the Marine program with the Navy ROTC, if you're a midshipman, not to forget our Coast Guard and Naval Academy brethren, anybody who is kind of right at the cusp of joining the military at a high school, whether it's at a high school or at a college, I think this is a perfect book for you to,
yeah,
start setting financial independence goals early. And then even if you've been in for a while, I think that you can get a lot out of it. And, maybe if you're not on the path, if you're not currently on the path to financial independence, or you're just kind of, wandering and meandering, and you don't really have a fixed goal that you're working towards, then I think this would be a great book for you to pick up and kind of recage yourself.
yeah. And I'll add to that. I've been in 12 years or more now. My wife and I we were mill to mill for a while. We both went through ROTC and commissioned. When we talk about in a future episode about the average net worth of military officers, it's like we're doing pretty good. But with all that being said, I pick up this book as a beta reader and I'm still learning stuff, or I'm learning something in a new way. So I'm refining my TTPs, if you will, my tactics, techniques, and procedures towards financial independence with some of the stuff that's in here. So even if you're well on your way towards financial independence, I would still assert that you're going to pick up things from this book. And the other thing I'll add to this topic is if anyone is listening and they're an instructor at USAFA or ROTC or any of the service academies or any kind of ROTC detachment or something like that, the best place to get this is for someone maybe a year or so from commissioning, so they can set a good habit pattern and a good foundation and have a good plan when they, take out that career starter loan we talked about before. If they do, when they get their first big paycheck, and we talked about in the past how when you get that first paycheck, you're just kind of overwhelmed with having several $1,000s in your bank account, maybe for the first time ever, that it can go really, really quickly if you're not careful about it.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point. That if you're just getting started, and it's easy to get into trouble really quick. Credit card debt can mount up really quick, and then it can take years for you to dig yourself out of that hole. And so, but if you have the right habit patterns early, then it's a lot easier to save, a lot easier to invest, and a lot easier to achieve financial independence at a much earlier age.
Yeah, that's great. So in this podcast, we've put out double digits of episodes so far. We're doing pretty well, and the listeners have responded. So I think there's definitely a market for that as well. We kind of focus both on the military travel hacking side and on personal finance, and really those two are kind of blended because as we said before, the money you save with the travel hacking side can help you max out your Roth IRA and things like that. So they're kind of connected in all ways. We would argue, but is it more about travel hacking or more about personal finance and budgeting, or is there a little bit of both?
Yeah, so the book is primarily focused on financial independence. After kind of reading just about every financial and personal finance investing book out there, I've come to the conclusion that if you're not saving and investing for financial independence, then you're not really working towards the ultimate goal of the reason that we have money, we have investing. Um, and so if you're not working on that big picture, then I think you're almost wasting your time. And so much of the personal finance space, the all the gurus and all Dave Ramsey is great for paying off debt, right? And he does talk about eventually you reach the baby step of okay, you're giving back to your community and you're saving for retirement, right? But okay, but when is retirement? Like when are you going to reach that point? And for a lot of people, it's always, oh, it's next year, it's 10 years from now, it's 40 years from now. But with financial independence, based on your savings rate, you can choose when you want to be done working.
Yeah.
And you can set yourself up so your investments are providing you passive income, and you can just be living on that. And whatever you choose to do, your time is your time. So what I wanted to do was take people away from just focusing on the different tactics and techniques, and focusing on the grand overall strategy of financial independence, and figuring out like what's the end state, what are they working towards, and to get people to stop kind of floundering and like, okay, I maxed my Roth IRA this year. It's like, okay, that's great, but like, why? What's the big why? Focusing on the bigger questions and the philosophy. And so I talk about a lot of that philosophy in the book. I go over the 9 principles to achieve financial independence. And these are kind of the ideas that, basically every personal finance book covers. And I just try to distill it down to just 9 principles. And we actually have a couple episodes where we go over those 9 principles. And one of those is actually our most popular podcast episode. So I'm really stoked about that. And I hope, a lot of people will take that information and then go read more about it in the book. And then a couple of the other things that we talk about in the book is establishing your financial foundation. So like you were saying, when you have the new ROTC graduate, or the guy who's fresh out of boot camp, what are some of the pitfalls that they can avoid, and what are some of the things that they can do to set themselves up to really achieve financial independence sooner rather than later. And then just a couple of the other things that we cover in the book is investing. So that's kind of the meat of the book, is how do you set up your investments while you're in the military so that you can rapidly achieve financial independence. And then the book wraps up with some unique aspects of military finances, so deployment, combat zone pay, getting tax-free income, the blended retirement system. We talk a little bit about military travel hacking, but I've also got the course on the website at militarymoneymanual.com/UMC3 if you really want to deep dive into the travel hacking stuff. And I touch on it a little bit in the book, but really my blog and the course are the best places to find out more about that. But I really want people what I want people to take away from the book is financial independence is possible. It's possible probably a lot sooner than you think. And while you're serving in the military is the best time to set yourself up to achieve financial independence.
Yeah, I have a couple notes, actually a few notes from that. That was a preach it, brother. Yeah. So like the goal of having money, if you don't know what the goal of having money is, if you're just out there collecting a paycheck just to turn around and spend it, then it's a very short-sighted financial viewpoint on life. And if you're spending every single penny you have, you're always going to feel behind if you're not saving any of it, and not just for emergencies, but also for investment, and then also for long-term retirement or whenever you want to stop working. Retirement for you and your family doesn't have to equal 59 and a half or 65 or 72. You can choose, following some of these principles that Spencer has in his book. You can choose when you want to stop working, or when you want to stop working because you need to and start working on something that you're passionate about. Another thing that came to mind is we have a saying at work when someone is really kind of hard charger, but just needs a little bit of direction: all thrust, no vector, right? So they're just going and going and going, but they just need to be pointed in the right direction. So I think we've all experienced people that we've worked with in the military, that we've come across, who have a lot of, they're doing a lot of things, but not really gaining any ground out of that.
Right.
The last point I had from that last beautiful sermon you had was financial independence it doesn't have to look the same for everyone, right? So if for some people your goal might be completely financial independent by 40, for some it might be 45, for some it might be 50, for some it might be to work part-time after 50 or whatever. So you, based on your savings rate, which Spencer talks a lot about in the book, you can determine how quickly you achieve financial independence. So if you want to go full steam ahead and really clamp down on all your spending, you can do that. If you want to take a more moderate approach, you can do that as well. So those are some really good points that I took away from that last little segment.
Well, thanks. Yeah. And one of the big things I'd like to talk about too is for financial independence is there's so many variables that are within your control, right? So things that are not within your control are, the performance of the stock market. Like it's going to go up, it's going to go down, in general, over long enough periods of time, it goes up, but you literally have no influence whatsoever on what the stock market does. But what you do have influence over is your personal savings rate, right? So how much you're willing to save. And there's two variables in that savings rate equation that you can control: how much you make and how much you spend. And, a lot of people like to focus on the how much you spend. And, for quick kills, I think how much you spend is, that's definitely a good area to focus on for a lot of people. But for the other side of the equation, how much you make, a lot of people don't think about that, especially in the military where, it's not like the corporate world. Like you don't get bonuses. Well, actually you can get bonuses depending on, when you re-enlist and, what your specialty is. But for a lot of people, it's difficult to make extra money in the military. And I want, part of the book is to encourage people to, well, what about when you go TDY? Do you spend all your per diem on food, or do you maybe spend half of it? A lot of places we go, the per diem rate's pretty high and you can still eat pretty well on maybe half your per diem. And now you're saving half your per diem. Well, for a younger airman or soldier, then that can be a substantial, boost to their income and allow them, I've got a couple of airmen working for me that are saving 40% of their base pay into the TSP, which is insane to me. But
It's great.
what they're able to do is take some of their additional duties pay and also some of their TDY pay, and they live on that. And they just every month they're throwing tons of money into their TSP. So I'm really proud of them. I kind of brag on them a lot at work with that. But I think it's there's a lot of goodness in the book, and I want to get people to start questioning and thinking, do I have to serve 20 years active duty, or do I only want to do maybe 10 years active duty and then go guard reserve, earn my pension that way, and still kind of have that military connection, but start a civilian career or, start a business. So I'm trying to get people to ask those questions with the book. And I'm trying to, break people out of a lot of some of the bad money habits that they may have formed over the years.
Yeah, even a 20-year military career is unique in the sense of you can still get a pension at maybe even 18, or like in my case, if I were to stay until 20 years, I could retire with military pension at 41 and then either choose to start another career or do something else on the side, or choose not to work ever again. If you play your cards right and have a good setup for that. There was one question I had as a follow-up is you mentioned about passive income. Can you just briefly explain what do you mean by passive income if someone hasn't heard of that term? What are some examples, or what is the difference between passive or the opposite, I guess, is active income?
Right. Yep. So, so for those of us in the military, which are probably most of the people who listen to this podcast, at at this point in your career, probably a lot of your income is active income. So you are trading hours and energy of your life. And in return, the Department of Defense sends you a paycheck every 2 weeks or every month, if that's how you elect to get paid. For passive income, you essentially are taking the capital that you received for your work, and you're investing it. And that could be in stocks, that could be in bonds, that could be in index funds, that could be in the TSP, that could be in real estate. But you're putting that, it could be in the bank even, and you're putting that money to work. and you receive an interest rate, or you receive dividend payments, or for like stocks, they tend to grow over time because they pay dividends and people want to purchase those companies. So you look at like Apple, they make iPhones every year, and every year they make a new iPhone, and everybody goes out and buys the new iPhone. And if you own a piece of
Except for you.
except for me, I'm an Android guy. But if you go out and you buy an iPhone, well, a little bit of that, the dollar amount that you just spend on that iPhone eventually works its way back to the shareholders of Apple. And so if you can get to the point where you have enough money invested in income producing assets, or in assets that gain in value, then eventually you don't have to work anymore. You don't have to trade your time for money anymore. But notice that I said you don't have to. You
Yep.
still could if you want. And a lot of people like doing that. And a lot of people find jobs where they enjoy the work, but they have the choice, right? And that's what it's all about: is you choose to do what you want with your time. And when you don't have to trade your time for money anymore, then your time is your time, and you get to decide what you want to do with it. And I think that's the most valuable asset that money can buy, really, is your life, your time. There's a couple books. One of them is Morgan Housel's Psychology of Money. And then the other one is Your Money or Your Life by Vicki Robbins, I think. I can't remember her last, Vicki something. Your Money or Your Life. And in both those books, they talk about the concept of essentially life energy. And when you're working for someone else, or even working for yourself in a business, but whenever you're working, right, you're essentially trading your life energy for money. And if you spend all your money, and you don't save any of it, you don't invest any of it, and get that investment to start producing income for you, then you're going to have to do that for the rest of your life. Now, thankfully, we're lucky here in the United States where we have Social Security. So eventually, as long as you worked, I think it's 10 years, while you were, before age 62 or whatever, the government will send you, some money every month. But that's not really a life worth living.
It's not.
So,
It's not much either.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not very much. So yeah, I think, if you Google passive income, you're going to get all kinds of
Yeah.
scams and,
Courses
different
to
websites.
buy.
Courses. Oh yeah. So you're providing plenty of passive income for the people selling those courses. But it really is setting up, taking your money and investing it and putting it to work, so that eventually that, you no longer have to trade time for money. You've just put all this money, and now you have all these, Mr. Money Mustache likes to talk about little green employees going to work for you every day. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool when you get to that point.
Oh man, a couple episodes ago when we talked about podcasts, he's a good one. I really enjoy his stuff, his
Oh yeah.
YouTube, social media
Yeah.
stuff. Mr. Money Mustache, he's fun to listen to.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, you mentioned the previous 3-part podcast series we did about the 9 principles. So if you haven't listened to that one yet, don't forget to go back. Spotify, wherever you listen to Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts, don't forget to go back and listen to those 3. Do you plan to write another book, Spencer? What's in the future? What do you think?
Probably just going to wait and see. I don't really have another book idea at the moment. I'm super stoked for the Military Money Manual. It's basically the culmination of all the thousands of hours of research and reading and writing, managing the blog, doing this podcast with Jamie. It's taking all these thoughts that I've had about personal finance, about investing in the military, and organizing them and putting them down on paper. And so, no, right now I don't plan to write another book, but I'm going to leave the option open. I'm not retired yet from
Yeah.
from being an author, and I think there's going to be a second edition. I'm already thinking about some other things I'd like to put in the next edition of the book, But well, I say there's going to be a second edition. I don't know. There's definitely a first edition though, and
Yeah.
it's available right now at militarymoneymanual.com/book, and it's always going to be available there. And for right now, it's exclusively available on my website, militarymoneymanual.com/book. And you can use the promo code podcast,
Don't try to spell it. No, no.
PODCAST. I got it. Promo code podcast, militarymoneymanual.com/book. And you'll get a special discount. And if you buy the ultimate bundle, you also get free shipping on top of the special podcast discount. So go check it out. And it's shipping. It's available right now. And it's, I don't know how long shipping's taking, but it'll leave the warehouse very soon after you order. So, but yeah, thanks for hosting the episode, Jamie. And any other questions you have about the book before we wrap it up?
One of my favorite things about kind of the why of why you wrote this book and put it into print for us and for the readers is it's the stuff that the military doesn't teach you, right? We've mentioned this before. You don't learn this in basic training. You don't learn this in ROTC. Rarely does a supervisor sit down with you and talk to you about financial independence or any kind of, if they do, it's maybe just what are your financial goals or what are you working on? Do you have a budget? Do you know how to do a budget? They might bring in someone from the Family Readiness Center or something like that to talk about budgeting or getting out of debt. And that's really the extent of the training we get in the military, as crazy as that is. So there's a lot of room if you're a supervisor or going to be a supervisor soon, there's a lot of room for you to just be a better person than the people that supervised you when you were younger and pass on some of these lessons, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And that's exactly right. There's so many unique aspects of military finances, and there's, you can go on Reddit, you can go on my website, there's other websites out there, there's Military One Source. But what I really wanted to do was write the definitive guide and give people, especially the people that have a lot of thrust, right? I want to give them that vector and show them that, hey, if you're going to do this, you might as well do it right. And financial independence is the way to do it. And you can get there while you serve in the military.